Hello guys, my name is Alfred and I am Mitz and welcome to the second or third part of the Fortnite crossover. This is of course Arrow episode 8 season 5 and we are getting into a feel of what this is gonna be about, and you can definitely feel that the Fortnite crossover thing is absolutely, all the episodes are still, the Arrow episode is very much Arrow, the Flash episode is very much Flash, and the Supergirl episode is almost completely Supergirl. So, what I think they're gonna do is the next one is gonna be very much more Legends, and because Legends is a team up to begin with, they're gonna use all the people at the same time much more, which is gonna be interesting to see at least. As I said, this one was very Arrow focused. That doesn't mean that there weren't any Supergirl or Barry in it. They were just off doing their own thing with some of the Team Arrow. And at this point, Team Arrow is so goddamn huge, so they got people to spare to send up in space and to have down on Earth doing things, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, there is just too many characters and too little care, I think. But yeah, the episode all in all was quite good. I felt the effects could have been done better. The alien tech looked amazing. The effects on the aliens looked really good, I felt. The aliens had really great weaponry that the heroes used this episode. I'm I'm just speculating here. I don't think the weapon will be just as effective when the aliens use this against the heroes, because essentially it just killed 20 aliens in one shot. So I don't think we're gonna kill 20 heroes in one shot, even though it would make a lot of sense, especially against people like Oliver and the other uh, non-powered heroes. But yeah, they're not gonna kill off their heroes. That's obvious. And they also had a lot of things like what if scenario, and it was kind of good. I sort of liked it a little bit. It was sort of like their own personal paradise in a way, but then they started to notice things were off, and I feel the way they noticed things were off was a bit weirdly made. Uh, but it worked. It ultimately worked. You know what were going on. The effects were a bit off, but they worked. There were nothing awful about them. Uh, the dynamic between them was essentially that at the end of the episode we learned that the aliens were scanning them, which I was afraid they weren't gonna do anything like that, but they did, which I'm grateful about. Because that means that the aliens had a reason to keep them alive. Because in the beginning of the episode I felt, why aren't they just killing them off? That would be the easiest way of getting rid of these people, just killing them then and there. But as we learned, they had a reason to keep them alive. That's brilliant. Not arguing. I just wish that we in the audience would have known this a little bit earlier, because as it is, we went through the episode thinking like, oh, this is dumb, oh, this is dumb, and then at the end of the episode we're like, okay, it makes sense now, which they could have handled a little bit better. And as well, Arrow, this was very much a, what if scenario. So it wasn't so much combat, not so much action. It was more one battle with Barry Allen and Supergirl against Cybergirl. A very underdeveloped storyline pushed to the side, which should be, it wasn't that important. And unfortunately for the plot, it didn't feel that important either, which just made the whole segment very meaningless. And it went up to the reveal that, oh, they're in space. Isn't that the first place you look when you're dealing with aliens? They don't come to Earth to be on Earth, they come to Earth from space. They're probably where they have their spaceships. But yeah, this is a problem I've seen in multiple movies and TV shows. I think the old Avengers TV show had the same problem, where the Avengers looked all over Earth for the alien base, and then they realized, oh wait, they're in space. Duh. And yeah, these are the things that you sort of feel like, yeah, if there are flying sausages in there, you should probably look in space for the big mothership. But apparently, no, the big mothership is somewhere on Earth. And yeah, as I said, it felt sort of like, yeah, and the characters learned it, and it was like, okay, yeah, they're in space. Good. Uh, for the Blast to the Past thing itself, it was. I felt it was a bit rushed. was a bit rushed and a bit drawn out. Like the story plots itself in it was rushed, but the segment in whole was dragged out. So they could have had a bit fewer plot points within the segment and made each one of them more meaningful and ultimately maybe a bit shorter so they could have a bigger escape at the end with the aliens perhaps, or if the budget for the effects of the aliens, which were amazing, so I imagine a lot of money went into it. If that's not a possibility, then perhaps they could add more quality throughout, so that you get more of an connection between Oliver and his parents. You know from the we're at the fifth season. We know his relationship with his parents, but we need a good reminder why these people are so important to him and why he don't want to leave them, and especially with Laura, because I didn't like Laura. Up until this episode, I didn't like her at all. She was a really annoying character. She only talked about food and wanted to become a superhero, so no thanks. And yeah, I mean, perhaps if you're a fan of Laura, this episode will have a lot more meaning. I'm not a fan of Laura, so I felt that the reasons for staying, even though I understand them, that yeah, this is pretty much paradise, why wouldn't you want to stay? But at the same time, it was a lot of like, they were very quick to saying, I don't want to stay, and then they sort of. What I'm trying to say is the pacing was all weirded out. I'm not a movie expert by any means. I don't. If I were, I would be out making movies by now. But what I'm saying is that the pacing was all weird, and they could have done that a little bit better. As for the characters were good. They're what you expect from Arrow and yeah, Flash and all that. I especially liked when Cisco came into the Arrow team and sort of like, oh, you are you, you are you, you are you, you are you, you are you. I just learned all the names, sort of like Cora did in the last episode. And yeah, it's all right, it's all right, but it was funny. And then there was a Wild Dog didn't like meta humans and aliens arc, which was very short and glanced over and weird, and it made no goddamn sense whatsoever. It's sort of like, oh yeah, because you guys exist, there are now bigger problems, which is sort of like they did in the Avengers, but with less backing up. He sort of just said his personal mind to a couple of people who could snap his neck in a second, which isn't the smartest thing to do. Either way, the episode, all in all, was very great. It ended with the cliffhanger, of course, to set up for the next episode on Legends of Tomorrow, and we're gonna see how it ends. I think the ending is gonna be the real big one, and I'm hoping that, because this one wasn't that great. It was an Arrow episode. It was meh. It was alright. It had Wade Wilson in it, and that's cool. That's cool. I like that. But more than that, it wasn't anything super duper spectacular. But it was alright. A lot less drama than usual, which is great. I don't like the drama, as you guys know. And I feel like they paced it a lot better. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the movie. Or not movie, on the TV show. What's your thoughts? As I said, this was Arrow Season 5, Episode 8. So, have you seen it? What's your thoughts? Leave it in the comments below, and have a nice one, guys.
Play man.
Yeah, exactly, of course, yeah.
I'll have it back.
Was it?
What about this? I took it off the Dominator ship that crashed in Central City.
What?
We're gonna hack alien tech. This is seriously the best day of my entire life!